Good morning, you're very welcome to Ireland AM. It's Saturday the 10th of September. Stick the kettle on and join us for the next few hours.
Coming up on today's show, following the death of Queen Elizabeth, we speak to an Irish fishmonger who netted a friendship with the Queen during her visit to Ireland 11 years ago.
And today marks World Suicide Prevention Day. Shortly, we'll meet the Dublin singer teaming up with Pieta for a good cause.
Needle and thread at the ready. We're getting a how-to guide on sewing that would be seamless, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, we're going to learn how to sew a button. It's going to be a task. And after 10, we're going to help you break free from the prison of stress and anxiety with some calming breathing exercises.
And former Glenroe favourite Isobel Mahon has penned her debut book. She'll be visiting us a little later.
But now we'll see what the world is looking like as you wake up. Anne O'Donnell is in the Virgin Media News Hub. Anne.
Thanks, Elaine. Good morning. An investigation has been launched into the deaths of 2 children in a car fire in County Westmeath. A woman was also seriously injured in the incident, which happened at around 4 p.m. yesterday afternoon near Multifarnham. An infant boy was removed from the scene by ambulance to hospital, where he was later pronounced dead. The remains of a young girl was also discovered at the scene. Post-mortems on the 2 children will be carried out today, and Gardaí say the results of the post-mortems and the forensic examinations will determine the course of the investigation. To London now, where thousands of mourners have been leaving floral tributes at Buckingham Palace following the death of Britain's Queen Elizabeth II. The country's new monarch, King Charles III, will be formally proclaimed king at a ceremony later this morning, with the full details of her funeral arrangements expected to be announced in the coming days.
King Charles III became the British monarch immediately upon the death of Queen Elizabeth II in Balmoral on Thursday. Charles has now returned to Buckingham Palace as Britain's monarch for the first time. He's met the country's Prime Minister Liz Truss, both getting used to their new roles. Last night, King Charles delivered this State of the Nation address, paying tribute to his late mother and Britain's longest-serving monarch, as well as setting out his hopes for his reign.
As the Queen herself did with such unswerving devotion, I too now solemnly pledge myself, throughout the remaining time God grants me, to uphold the constitutional principles at the heart of our nation. And to my darling Mama, as you begin your last great journey to join my dear late Papa, I want simply to say this: thank you.
His accession to the throne will be formally proclaimed in front of a ceremonial body this morning. The event gets underway at a so-called Accession Council at St James's Palace in London, made up of a group including senior civil servants and politicians. Then the British national anthem will be played using the words "God Save the King" for the first time. Bells are being tolled across Britain as part of a long-planned, carefully organised series of events to mark the Queen's passing and ahead of days of national mourning and a state funeral. Marie Mulcahy, Virgin Media News.
And we can go live now to London to our news correspondent Zara King, who's standing by at Buckingham Palace for us. And King Charles III is getting ready to be formally proclaimed king at a ceremony later this morning. Zara.
Yes, good morning, Anne. So that ceremony is going to take place at around 10 o'clock this morning, and while we speak to you today, crowds are still gathering here at Buckingham Palace because people are wanting to come and pay tribute. King Charles, as he's now known, III, arrived here yesterday afternoon and did a bit of a walkabout when he got here, and shaking hands with people and thanking them for coming, and they were offering their condolences to him. And as we heard, God Save the King is the song that will be sang after the Accession Council meets this morning. But there were a small number of people who sang God Save the King yesterday as Prince Charles went on that walkabout with his wife Camilla. So it's been a week of change here in the United Kingdom. I suppose people here are coming to terms with the loss of the Queen, and now I suppose some people saying they're looking forward to King Charles's reign, but a lot of people wondering what that means for the future of the monarchy, and that's a question no doubt that will be asked over the coming weeks. As I say, tributes pouring into Queen Elizabeth, and there are some people who were here because they were on holidays in London and just wanted to come and sort of pay their respects and lay flowers. Among them was an Irish couple from Galway who had actually come for a proms event here in London, but that was cancelled because of the Queen's death.
Well, I suppose I was quite impressed. You know, she started with her little bit of Gaeilge and she'd obviously rehearsed it. And I think she was trying to do her best and trying to build those bridges and just cover up all those terrible years and just make things better really going forward. And I think it was a big moment for all concerned.
I do think we have such deep historic ties between the two nations that acts like that are so important and mean a lot for people on both sides. And I do think her actions during that trip helped a lot.
The couple reflecting there, of course, on the Queen's visit to Ireland in 2011, which was a huge watershed moment in terms of the relationship between our two countries. So, and here at Buckingham Palace this morning, the police operation is underway because a huge number of people expected again today. And what we're seeing is people bringing their children today who were obviously at school yesterday, getting a chance to come. They're travelling from all over the United Kingdom to lay those floral tributes. But because of the volume, again, like yesterday, the police are asking people to lay those floral tributes in Green Park, just next door to Buckingham Palace here, because they just cannot keep up with the volume of them being laid at the gates and having to move them every kind of hour or so. In terms of what happens next, and well, the funeral arrangements have yet to be finalised, but it is widely expected that Queen Elizabeth's funeral will take place not this coming Monday, but the following Monday, and it is expected that that will be a bank holiday, that schools will close up and down the United Kingdom, and that the country then will no doubt be gathering around their television sets, and some in fact will come here to be part of that. So there's a lot to be done over the next couple of days, but as I say, at 10 o'clock this morning, that a session council meeting to appoint King Charles.
Zara King there bringing us up to speed. Thank you, Zara. And in other news then, Gardaí are appealing for witnesses to come forward after a man in his 20s was killed in a two-car collision in County Clare. The crash happened on the R463 in Partine last night just before 10 p.m. The man was pronounced dead at the scene, and a second man in his late teens from the same vehicle was taken to University Hospital Limerick to receive treatment for serious injuries. A technical examination of the scene by forensic collision investigators is scheduled to take place this morning, and local diversions remain in place.
For car insurance, van insurance or home insurance, call the Quote Devil. Unless, of course, you've got money to burn.
This morning looks to have some early fog patches, but will be mainly dry with sunny spells and temperatures ranging from 12 to 16 degrees. This afternoon then we'll see a few showers developing in the southwest. Into the evening it will be dry with long clear spells and temperatures ranging from 17 to 20 degrees. And tonight we'll see cloud thickening from the south overnight, with rain developing in Munster and South Connaught before dawn. Temperatures will range from 11 to 15 degrees.
For first-time drivers, young drivers, returning drivers, if you've had an open claim or have had too many penalty points.
The Quote Devil's always got one hell of a quote. Now let's check on your morning paper, starting with the Irish Times. It leads with household bills could hit €6,000 a year. The paper reports that household energy bills could climb as high as €6,000 a year, internal government documents show.
Garda probe after two small children killed in car blaze. That's the front page of the Irish Independent. They report the Gardaí and Mullingar are investigating all circumstances surrounding the death of a young boy and a young girl who died following a car fire in Westmeath on Friday.
The Examiner leads with call for rolling energy support. It reports that households will need to be supported with their energy bills on a rolling basis into next year. Otherwise, costs will hit €900 by January.
On to the tabloids. The Daily Mail lead with double boost to ease hikes. The paper reporting that households are set to get 2 further energy credits to combat soaring bills.
The front page of the Mirror, it leads with 2 kids killed in car fireball horror. It reports that the mum was fighting for her life as she was injured in a car fire that killed 2 children.
The Sun go with a similar story with their headline, Kids Killed in Car Fire.
The Herald also leads with that story. The headline there goes with 2 children die in car blaze.
And finally, the Star is leading with King and Country. The paper reporting about an emotional Garth Brooks who broke down into tears on stage as he finally took to Croke Park to headline the first of his 5 historic gigs last night. I don't know if he was crying because he was overwhelmed with emotion, or if somebody, just before he went on stage, whispered how much money is now in his bank account. And he was like, oh my God, that's so much. Hello, Dublin. Incredible. I live about 10 kilometres away from Croker, and I could hear, like, if you knew the songs, you would have been able to identify what the songs were. It was incredible. Yeah. Incredible. That's just the first. My favourite Garth Brooks song. We're going to get to that in a second. First, this was something that caught my eye, which obviously, you know, what happened yesterday is momentous, and it's something that there'll be, you know, one of those where were you when you heard the news things with the Queen's death. But following on from that, what I find really interesting is all these little factoids that kind of emerge now about her and about her life that we weren't privy to, even, you know, though I watched The Crown and that's where all my royal knowledge comes from. There's things like she bought her wedding dress with the rations, the coupons, whatever they were back in World War II. So she's like, you know, all along has been sort of trying to be a little bit closer to the layman, to the everyman, to the public person. And there she is, a very young bride on her wedding day. But an incredible life. I think she's had 30 corgi dogs over her life.
Apparently she got her first corgi from, I found out yesterday, I had a very interesting conversation about corgis in general, I don't know why. But she got her first corgi from her dad, and her sister also got a dog. And not a corgi, a different dog. And they used, they fell in love, as dogs do, but one was very smaller than the other one, so a stool was used to help them along their way.
Okay, all right. It's still very early in the morning, but we can all picture exactly...
Yes, so more facts.
Yeah, more facts. The Queen was the only person who didn't need a driver's licence to drive a car.
Oh, I wish I was the Queen.
Oh, you've passed yours though, didn't you?
No.
Oh, you've still
haven't done it yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Well, you can be the Queen now who doesn't need a driving licence.
Yeah, but it's a different kettle of fish now getting the licence, because you need to know about what's under the engine as much as the rules of the road. Have you passed the theory part of the test at least?
Yeah.
Oh, so you have that bit in the back.
Oh, yeah, it's all fantastic.
Just the actual driving bit.
Did you miss my driving around Mondello? I was fabulous. That's the last time I sat in the car. Anyway, keep going.
She volunteered actually as a truck driver in the Second World War. Which actually made her the first person from the royal family to serve in the war. Yeah, I think we have a picture of it. She's like, credit to her. She, in her time, she could very easily have led a life like monarchs before her, where they literally don't touch off normal people. But she was the first to kind of bring the royal family more towards the people, shall we say?
Yeah.
So I want to kind of gear shift it a little bit. I don't know whether you know the name Declan Flynn, who was murdered 40 years ago. Yeah, 40 years ago today.
Where are we going with this?
And the anniversary of his death. He was a gay man. This is what kicked off Dublin Pride, basically.
Oh, wow.
He was 32 years of age when he was killed in 1982 in Fairview Park, and it was by a gang of teenagers. And nobody was basically, like, the gang of teenagers who murdered him walked free. And it started a massive, massive riot for years on end, every single day for this year. That's actually what kicked off the main stage of Dublin Pride, like why we take to the streets, is because Declan Flynn is the man who kind of kicked off the big conversation, kind of like the Stonewall conversations that we have about New York. But today they're having a march again for the 40th anniversary in Fairview Park, which starts at 12:30 today. It's open to everybody, and it'll march from Liberty Hall to Fairview Park, just in kind of solidarity with...
Going?
I'm going to try and go, yeah, if I can get there from here straight away. But it's always amazing, and because it's 40 years, it's a big it's a big event.
I believe it's that long ago already.
I know.
Anyway, there's plenty of time to reach us today. You can text us for free on WhatsApp. The number is 0896 111 111.
Of course, you can email us as well, irelandam@virginmedia.ie.
And you can find us at Ireland AM VMTV on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram.
Up next, we meet the Cork fishmonger on the infamous day he met Queen Elizabeth. We'll be talking about that just after the break.
When Queen Elizabeth visited Ireland back in 2011, one of the unforgettable moments occurred in Cork's famous English market when she had a remarkable encounter with fishmonger Pat O'Connell.
Pat joins us in studio this morning to tell us all about it. The most famous fishmonger in Ireland, if not the world, at this stage. Pat, tell us how it came about in the first place. How did you get to meet the Queen in the first place?
Well, it's a long story as to how it came, because originally they were trying to get Barack Obama, who came a couple of weeks before the Queen. So he was invited to Cork, but that didn't work out because his schedule was too tight. So then somebody in City Council said, well, the Queen is coming to Dublin, let's try the Queen.
So, you got her. So she was the really, number two choice.
The best laid plans, you know. And it was funny because my lads inside were disgusted that Barack Obama wasn't coming and that was the Queen. And I thought, no, lads, you've got this all wrong. The Queen is like so much more important to this country than Barack Obama, because he's doing it for an election reason. She's doing it for a historic reason. And like, this is an opportunity and a window in history that, you know, presents itself every now and then. And it's only if people make that leap.
Yeah.
And speaking of history,
that was pretty much on the money.
That whole her trip over here, there was so many historic moments, but one captured beautifully is the shot. We just showed it on screen a second ago, where you're having the crack. And there's one thing that people always seem to say about the Queen is that she had a great sense of humour, and you drew that out from her. You got that from her. You got a smile. You got a laugh out of her. What was the joke that did it?
I have no idea how nervous I was on that day. You know, I mean, I do fish, the Queen does horses, and there's very little common ground between both except the head and the tail, you know.
But how was it? Was she? Everyone says because she was a warm, kind of nice person to meet. Because I mean, you obviously it was pretty daunting.
Well, yeah, I mean, we did a run through beforehand with RT, just as a kind of practice run.
Yeah.
And one of the producers, RT, took the place of the Queen, and it kind of was exactly as I thought. It was kind of distant and frosty,
Yeah.
and I thought, oh God, this is not the market.
Yeah.
And I kind of thought, oh God, I'm not going to do this. There's just too much protocol, too much, you know. So when the Queen arrived, obviously very nervous, but we were lucky in the sense that we had a superb display of fish on the morning from Castletown Bear in West Cork, where we get our fish for the last 62 years. That's
Fresh
not
off
my
the
age.
boat.
That's not my age, by the way. My mother started the business.
Keep going there, no, Pat.
We had an incredible display of fish, and one of the first ones we had was a monkfish, which in Cork we call the mother-in-law fish. It's got really nasty teeth, and I think it's because of that.
I never heard that before.
I can say that, but I got on really well with my mother-in-law on the day, so she'll understand. So the Queen obviously saw this monstrosity of a head with big pikey teeth, and she said, gosh, what's that? And I said, that's the thinking, will I say mother-in-law fish or will I say monkfish? And I said, hell, here goes. This is a mother-in-law fish. And it was only a couple of weeks after William and Kate's wedding, so, you know, weddings and mother-in-law were still fresh. And she threw back her head and laughed, and I thought, this woman is just fine. This woman gets it.
Yeah.
And that broke the ice, really. And after that, we just had such a laugh. And you know, that particular week was very close to my 30th wedding anniversary, and I turned around to her and said, you know, this week is kind of my 30th wedding anniversary, and the last time I was this nervous was 30 years ago. And she said, yeah, but you're okay now, aren't you? And I said, yeah, kind of, like I said, a bit like a swan, you know, very smooth on top, but God, am I paddling like hell underneath.
So you chatted away, though.
Yeah, that was just the start of a relationship, though, because you were invited over to Buckingham Palace to meet her again, and when she walked into the room, she said, it's my fishmonger.
So funny because I had got the invitation, which was a pink invitation, and my wife came over with me, but she wasn't allowed to go to the night because they don't do 1+1s apparently. So when we were going over, I got a phone call to say there would be another invitation at the hotel I was staying in. So I said, okay. So when I got to reception, letter there from Mr. O'Connell, got to the letter and kind of half looked at it, half put it in the pocket of the suit I was wearing that night. And went to Buckingham Palace, and there was I'd say there was probably about 200 people going to this reception that night. It was a week before President Higgins went for a more formal thing, so this was kind of more casual with people that had, I suppose, influenced English life and done well in England, and a few brought over from Ireland. So we were right into the courtyard, and we were queuing up, and they were all taking out their pink invites, and I took out my one, and it was white with a red line, and I thought, okay, why is this different?
What are they going to do with me?
I've got the wrong house or I've got the wrong base. So I kind of read it 20 times and I said Buckingham Palace on that day. So I got inside the door and I was asked to stand to one side, and I thought, oh God, this is getting worse by the second. I was just dying of death. And this guy came over and said, don't panic, you're okay. And I said, am I showing it that much? You look nervous. So he said, she just wants to meet a couple of you upstairs in private.
Oh, wow.
So went upstairs and we were chatting away, and then there was an announcement that the Queen and Prince Philip was coming in, and we put her on a little semicircle like this, actually. And the Queen came into the middle of the room and looked around and said, my fishmonger's come over. And I thought, Kathleen O'Connell, I hope you're looking down on this, my love.
Who'd have thunk it? But the thing is, as well, when that visit happened, and there was a lot of chat back and forth about how a watershed moment it was, how appropriate people were kind of, some were for it, some were against it. And going to Cork as well, we're the rebel county, so it was always going to be polarising for people. But I think your chat with her kind of broke the ice in more ways than one and kind of showed a humanity, I think, that healed a lot of wounds. Were you aware how momentous it was for the country looking on?
I think I was, I'll be honest, because as you say, I've been dealing with the public every day, so you're getting this banter of it's good, it's bad, it shouldn't be happening, it's fantastic. You're getting both sides, and I understand both sides. We have a horrible history with England. But I think there comes a time where you can't live in the past. You've got to put it there, and you've got to learn from it, and you've got to move on. And I think that was an opportunity. I think England wanted to go that way, and I think we had two wonderful presidents before, in Mary Robinson and Mary McAleese at the time. I think we've been so gifted with our presidents that we've had recently. They were absolutely statespeople, and they were respected, and they had a level of honesty and I suppose confidence that stood by us. And I think they brought a statehood to this country that we kind of hadn't had up to then. And I think we were being recognised as an independent state, which was very important to this country.
Yeah, and I think especially hearing the Queen used a couple of words of Irish as well in her address.
Well, I think absolutely.
Moments like that are big watershed moments.
And I think that the fact that, she said there were things that happened that, in hindsight, we wish hadn't happened or had not happened at all. And I think we all felt that way.
Yeah.
But, you can't forever leave these things fester. You can't forever hate people because of what a previous generation did. There were kids sent up chimneys one time to clean chimneys. History moves on, and I think that was a watershed moment.
Pat, before you leave us, is it true you were in touch with her again recently enough?
I've been in touch with her ever since.
How do you how does one become pen pals with the Queen?
No idea. It has been the strangest engagement and strangest kind of correspondence ever. It started with a salmon, because when they were here we had salmon from the River Lee, which is amazing that you can have wild salmon coming from 50 yards away from the English market, and in superb condition. And I knew from beforehand that she likes salmon, and Prince Philip likes salmon, and they'd love to give her the salmon on the day, but because of protocol we weren't allowed. So I said, I'm going to send the salmon over if I get a chance. So I did, and we got this lovely letter back about 2 weeks later saying, thanks for the wonderful present of the smoked salmon. And, there's a kind of standard letter that you get from the palace, but then you get a little bit of writing at the end, which is the bit that's the icing on the cake, and down underneath it by her private secretary at the time, Paul Young, was the salmon was judged to be delicious.
Fantastic.
That letter was addressed to Dear Mr. O'Connell, but now they're all Dear Pat.
But you know what, isn't that absolutely lovely? And it started with the salmon. There's a line of the century anyway. Listen, Pat, thank you so much.
With the monkfish.
Mother-in-law, what you call it? Mother-in-law's?
Mother-in-law fishes.
Oh, Lord, right, OK.
I was so lucky I got him with my mother-in-law, Elaine.
You have to keep reiterating that your wife's up actually kill you, otherwise come here to me. It's been a joy talking to you. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. I know there's lots more to come on Ireland Day, and we're keeping him, I think. See you back here in a few. You're very welcome back. Today marks World Suicide Prevention Day, giving the singular message that suicide can be prevented. This month, Pieta House is urging everyone to be aware of the signs of suicide, because knowing the warning signs could save a life. And here now to tell us more about the campaign is CEO of Pieta House, Stephanie Manahan, along with singer Aaron J Hart, who has spoken openly about his personal struggles with anxiety and depression. You're both very welcome to the show. Aaron, I'm going to start with you. I've known you for a while, and you've gone through an up and down personal struggle. Tell me about that struggle and kind of, how it started with mental health, and where the kind of journey started for you.
Started 2017. That's when I found myself isolated. Went into a dark kind of place where I honestly didn't see a way out. There was people were there for me, but I chose to ignore how I was feeling. I chose to ignore all my emotions, everything in general. And I found, obviously, music. That was an outlet for me, and that's what helped me. It expressed all the emotions I had inside, the anger, like the regret, the guilt, everything I was feeling. And I just led myself down a dark path. And that's the reason why with everything I do, and the people, you know, who've been following me for a while understand that's what I talk about.
When you say you led yourself down a very dark path, what do you mean by that?
I kind of went to
Are you it sounds like you're still almost blaming yourself.
Yeah, it was more like a self-sabotage kind of state where I didn't feel like I was important to anybody. I felt like anything I did didn't matter. Just feeling like not good enough, like completely just like leaving yourself there.
And how did you get to that point? Because, you know, was there events that kind of led up to feeling like that through life?
I went through a lot as a kid.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't really blame it on that. I think it was more the mentality that I was in, and like the way I wasn't really looking after my mental health. Like I wasn't, you know, the way I go to the gym now, the way I go, like, you know, do hikes and walking and going to the studio. I didn't have anything. I had no outlet. I had nothing. So it was basically just being stuck in a rut, and that's what scared me the most. That's what I never want to go back to. I never want to put myself in that position again. I never want to lead that road again. So. But
I suppose through your friends and people around you, you said you wouldn't be here now but for them.
Yes.
You went as dark as you can go, as a human can go. You tried to take your own life, essentially.
Yeah.
And which is the end stage of this awful disease, really. How did you come from that very low point?
My friends noticed something different in me. They noticed like a change, and I wasn't showing any signs at all. I was struggling. I was always the guy that was go to the pub and, you know, drink and laugh and have a bit of fun. And they didn't realise that, like, sometimes the person who helps the most needs help the most. Like, 'cause I was always there for everybody else, but like, and the minute they found out, the minute they copped it, straight away they were onto me and they were like, "Look, we're here for you. We'll do whatever we can." And one of my friends, I sent him a message. I just told him that I appreciate everything he did for me and I loved him. And it was nothing out of the ordinary. So I always tell him I love him all the time.
Yeah.
And he copped it. He knew something was wrong. And that night, that's when I was ready. I was in work that day. I was working in Blanchardstown at the time. And when I got home, I just knew. I was like, I made the decision. And if it wasn't for them, like, they showed me that it's okay, you know, to be there. They showed me that it's okay to talk. It's strong. It's strength. So.
Stephanie, sorry, I'll just bring you in here because we're here today basically on this very special, important day to make people aware of the signs. The signs of suicide. Can you talk us through that?
Absolutely. I mean, we focus in on 5 key signs that can help, and I think it's very important to hear stories like Aaron's, that somebody saw something and they spotted it. But for us, the key signs, one of them, I suppose the first one is sleep disturbance. So you might see that somebody has changed their pattern of sleeping. They might be sleeping more, they might be sleeping less, they might be sleeping during the day, awake at night, a change in the pattern of behaviour. We then see that people might be a wee bit more isolated or withdrawn, and again more so than normal, that we've noticed a change in their behaviour. Some people actually give away possessions. They give away things that previously they may have had an attachment to. So again, you're spotting a change in the behaviour, that somebody is giving away things. Some people have no interest in things anymore. So the interest that they may have had in sport, in friends, in family, in going out, in TV, in Xbox, whatever it is, that actually you've seen a change or a disconnect from their previous level of interest in that activity. And then finally, and very importantly, some people talk about not wanting to be around anymore. People actually articulate that people would be better off without them. So it's when you see some of these signs together, separately, and ultimately in your gut, you're feeling there's actually something not right here. Something feels a bit wrong. Ask somebody how they're feeling. Ask them.
And Stephanie, you say ask them. What are the ways to kind of, you know, because like you would have said, you might not have reached out in the way that you kind of wanted to, Aaron. Are there ways to kind of, you know, ease that out of people, but without kind of maybe possibly stepping in front of them too heavy, if that makes sense, to kind of ask questions and just to ease how they're feeling?
Like the APR?
Yeah, I mean, we do talk about ask, persuade, refer, as Aaron has said there, and it is about, and that asking, to be honest with you, don't be afraid of asking somebody, are they contemplating ending their life? Are they in that level of space? And I think it's about helping all of society and community, particularly with men and young men, to actually talk. And it's okay to talk. And I think one of the taglines this year is dump the small talk and pick up the big talk. Because, you know, men, particularly young men, they just don't have that same level of talking that often women do. And we're seeing in Pieta that, I think, last year our therapists dealt with nearly 100,000 calls and texts. And we then worked with 7,000 people, but we're still seeing that only 30% of those are men.
But when we look at after the pandemic, and a lot of people are still suffering, there's been a subsequent mental health pandemic that isn't really being talked about, with people that are isolated, they're not sharing their stories, they're not opening up. Young men particularly are the most at-risk demographic, and have been historically for a very long time. Aaron, if there's anyone out there that might be feeling a bit grey, a bit dysphoric, a bit feeling worthless, what would you tell them to do if they feel that they can't actually open up to anyone, if they feel ashamed? What would you tell them to do now?
Right now, from my experience, I'd say don't be afraid, because the minute you take that first step, everything changes. You feel it, you feel a weight lifted, you know there's no judgment, everybody is here, because at the end of the day, mental health is something every human being deals with. We've all been there, no matter how high up you are or how low you are. We all go through it, we're human beings, and it's so important to understand that. Don't sit there and tell yourself that this is it, this is the way I'm going to feel forever, because it's not. The help is always there. I've seen it. I'm at the stage in my life where I've seen so many of my friends die from this disease and seeing what's happened to people. And that's why I want to stand up against it, like, no matter, because it didn't take me. And I want to make sure that people can look at me and say, look, this is a man. And he's not afraid to speak, because I'm not. I haven't been afraid. Like, I've never been afraid to speak up, now anyway. And I want to change that. I want to give that to other people, to show them that if a lad like me can come on national TV and say that he deals with his problems, and they can look at me and say, well, he's not getting judged. He's not afraid to say it, so why should I be? And that's what I'm trying to do here.
The help is there.
The help is there. It's always there.
Thank you so much,
Aaron,
both
that's
of you,
amazing.
for joining us on the show today. It's been very, I'm sure there's a lot of people watching this that will be greatly moved and greatly helped by the discussion we've had. And of course, if you've been affected by anything we have discussed this morning, you can contact helplines on virginmediatelevision.ie/helplines.
Lots more to come on Ireland AM. We're back after this short break.
You're very welcome back. This month marks International Sewing Month, and to celebrate, we're going to be learning how to do some basics when it comes to repairing your wardrobe.
We're joined now by Lorna Daly, founder of the fashion design and sewing school When Poppy Met Daisy. Lorna, good morning.
Morning, how are you?
So listen, like you're going to put our skills to the test today, but
skills is a very loose term to describe what I have when it comes to this.
Killian just said to me, would you ever, like, you know, do some of your costumes if something went wrong?
I know, it'd be handy.
It'd be handy?
Yeah.
So what sort of skills are we going to be learning today?
Today, we're literally just going to show you how to put on a button. You wouldn't believe the amount of people that haven't even learned how to put on a button, basically. And you get people dropping things into the, like, a zip yard and stuff, and they could just do it at home themselves. Even getting yourself a basic machine, like you were saying your mum got one, was it, in Lidl. Like, to do a few bits at home, it's so handy. It saves you a fortune. You know, you don't throw things in the bin. So we're just going to do a really basic button, right?
For people like us who are complete beginners, if we wanted to start, what would be the starting point? What's the easiest thing that you could kind of...
Normally what I say to people is get yourself a really basic machine. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. Like, people used to have them in their house all the time, like an iron. And basically, you can do a certain little class, or you can do it on YouTube and just learn how to run a straight stitch. You know yourself when something splits.
Yes.
Like, you have to bring it in somewhere. It would take you seconds to do it at home.
And it'd probably cost you, like, you know, too much money when you could just be doing it from home.
Exactly.
And this is it. We're used to a stage now where things are so inexpensive. It's just probably easier to buy a new one. Whereas we probably should be more conscious of the fact of, albeit cheap to just go and buy stuff. Still, you know, you should. For me, I tell you what the killer is. Jeans in the centre of the jeans gets worn away, and the rest of the jean is perfect, but right down the centre. And it's not that I'm doing anything too excessive. It just always seems to be one of those places. So I keep meaning to. I got an old pair of jeans. I cut them up into patches, and I keep meaning to like sew an extra patch to help the wear and tear. It might be too much information, but, but I tell you what, I get an attachment to a pair of jeans.
I know,
and I love them. And then all of a sudden, if a hole starts appearing in the crotch area, I'm like, well, that has to go in the bin, and I might love the jean.
Well, thanks for that TED Talk, Killian. We're going to move on to actually doing something, right?
Yes,
so
exactly.
this you're saying is the basic, even that me and my friend here will be able to
100%
to go for.
And like just with buttons and things like that, like you can get really nice different types of buttons, so you can even customize things by swapping things out. So you have like a diamond and kind of
I have a gorgeous little diamondy button.
Yeah, why was Paul given the gorgeous diamond button and I was given the plainest white little button?
It's just where you stood, lads. And so like they're really easy to put on. You can turn around there and just see there's just a little clasp at the back.
So it's just a little clasp at the back, and we're going to now find our way to stitch through it.
Exactly. So mine's a little bit different. Mine has 4 holes in it, and this is a little bit harder, but same principle.
Should we watch you first, or should we go along with you?
Maybe watch me first, and then you guys have a go.
Tools down.
Yeah. So we're just going to come in with our thread like this, and through here like this.
Even stuff like the length of the thread, I never know how much
Never
you
longer
need.
than your elbow.
Or
it'll get knotted. Yeah.
Right.
And this has a little knot in the bottom of it, but I'm just going to go in again like this.
And you're just going to zip it through twice.
Yeah, exactly. Just make sure that's tidy, and then just pop the button on like this.
And then the button goes down the end. See, it's the wrappy up bit now with the bit. I just have a bit of string everywhere hanging all off.
Yeah, you just have to cut it off. Just make sure it's tied at the end, and then you can cut it off. But then, oh, look, I'm after getting a bit tangled there myself.
That's okay. So you're just looping it through twice, and then attaching the button through the clasp.
Exactly.
And then it slides down the end. Should we give it a go?
Let's give it a pop.
Okay, so you're ready now, right? So we're just going to loop it through twice. And do you gather up?
Now, if you just come underneath there like that, right?
Yeah, am I right?
Yeah, pull it right through.
There?
Yeah, pull it right through.
Pull it right through.
Yeah. Now just pull that bit out there.
Okay.
Now.
So we'll just turn,
drop
this
the
way.
button over it.
And then drop the button...
Through the clasp.
Through the clasp.
And literally just go in and out and in and out.
Oh.
That's it. You have it here.
Have I got it right?
You do. It's just through here like this, right? And then...
I'm messing it up.
You're not.
There's no clasp on my button. See, this was you now. I bet you...
There you go, that one there.
There we go. Let's go with the gold.
And it's one of those things that it's not actually that difficult. It just takes a little bit of time. Don't rush it, right?
Exactly.
Look at you now.
I know, look at me, but because I've done this before and I tell you where I did it on the my bed sheets. The buttons broke on them in the dryer. Anyway, it's a boring story. But I replaced the buttons, and if you look at the hatchet job I did, because full disclosure, the thread length I used was probably about 5 foot, so I just kept going and going, thinking, these buttons are never coming off.
I know.
And it looks awful, but it's just take your time, make it neat.
Exactly. And if you just come back over.
So where am I going from here? Sorry.
So you're all right. You're just in here like this, right?
Yeah.
Just go back through the fabric.
Back through the fabric again. And oh, the other side, so you're locking it in together.
So you're locking it in.
Tell me if
back through again.
If people wanted to start, what is there a kit? Could you just, you get those sewing kits in hotel rooms. Could you even go starting from there?
Like, I guess you could. Now, the threads wouldn't be the best of quality, but what you should probably get yourself is just a really basic little sewing machine. If you want to do hand stitching, it will take a lot longer, but it's something anybody can learn.
It's almost therapeutic.
It is.
Let me try.
Take it to your head.
I'm going like...
Just in.
Killian, you've mastered this. How are you, so we're going back into the fabric.
I'm a secret sewer.
Oh, now I get it. So we're going back into the fabric, and then you're just kind of going and then tightening it up. Now, mine's a little bit loose, so I might not have to get through.
Lorna, is it a case that the threads, you get what you pay for, essentially?
You do, yeah. Never skimp on threads or needles or anything like that. It'll just make your project that little bit harder. So, your threads will start snapping. The needles will break.
It's worth it, because it's not that expensive, so it's worth spending a little bit on it.
Yeah, it's frustrating then.
But listen, you were obviously the winner of this one. I'm going to keep cracking on here now with this.
Thanks a million, Lorna.
Thanks,
Listen,
Lorna.
still to
Thanks so
come
much.
this morning, I'm looking forward to this. Breakfast muffins are on the menu.
Plus, a breathing exercise to keep your stress levels in check. Stay with us.
Now let's check on your morning paper, starting with the Irish Times. It leads with household bills could hit €6,000 a year. The paper reports that household energy bills could climb as high as €6,000 a year. Internal government documents show.
Garda probe after 2 small children killed in car blaze. That's the front page of the Irish Independent. They report that Gardaí and Mullingar are investigating all circumstances surrounding the deaths of a young boy and a young girl who died following a car fire in Westmeath on Friday.
The Examiner leads with call for rolling energy support. They report that households will need to be supported with their energy bills on a rolling basis into next year. Otherwise, costs will hit €900 by January.
Onto the tabloids. The Daily Mail lead with double boost to ease hikes. The paper reporting that households are set to get 2 further energy credits to combat soaring bills.
On the front page of the Mirror, it leads with 2 kids killed in car fireball horror. It reports the mother was fighting for her life as she was injured in a car fire that killed 2 children.
The Sun go with a similar story with their headline, Kids Killed in Car Fire.
The Herald also leading with that story, the headline there, 2 children die in car blaze.
And finally, The Star is leading with King and Country. The paper reports that an emotional Garth Brooks broke down to tears on stage as he finally took to Croke Park to headline the first of his 5 historic gigs last night.
Now, following the death of Queen Elizabeth on Thursday evening, we're looking back at her passion for horse racing.
The equine industry celebrated worldwide exposure in 2011 after the Queen's visit to the Irish National Stud, and John Osborne from Horse Racing Ireland joins us on the line. John, you're very welcome to the show this morning. How are you?
Great, thank you. A sad week, but yeah, great memories.
We look back to 2011, you were CEO of the National Stud at the time, and you were obviously privy to this worldwide exposure when the Queen came to visit the National Stud. What was it like from your perspective?
It was frightening at a certain level. The security people made it clear that any mistake would be on the front page of every newspaper in the world. So that was a little bit of pressure to get it right, and you only had one chance. So that was one part of it. Also, it had to be top secret, so you couldn't actually tell anybody. So getting help was complicated. You had to pretend something else was happening or whatever. And lots of things came together, and we had a perfect day, as it turned out.
Famously, she was passionate about horse racing, had a great love of the sport. What was it like chatting to her about it? Because like, she only got her latest winner just during the week. I mean, she was an avid supporter of the industry.
Yeah, when you have some visitors, your worry is that you don't want to, set the bar too high. But with the Queen, the thing was her knowledge was so deep that, you'd have to be ready with the correct answer because she was going to see through any sort of flannel. So she's been involved in the business since she was very young. And that's the wonderful thing. The scenes you're showing there are set outside a yard known as the Sun Chariot Yard. And Sun Chariot was a filly who won the Fillies Triple Crown in 1942 for King George VI when the Queen was only a teenager. And she vividly remembered visiting Beckhampton to see the filly, as she was known as. She was so good, she didn't even need a name. She was the champion. And so having it as the Sun Chariot Yard, which it has been for decades, was a lovely circle in the life of the Queen. So she felt like she was coming home.
And this is it. I mean, unlike maybe entertaining other foreign delegates, or maybe there are celebrities that come and you would have had them as guests at the National Stud, the Queen is so rooted in this industry. She knows her stuff. She's passionate about it. For you as CEO at the time, did you get a bit of one-on-one time with her where you got to talk shop a little bit and you got to hear that passion and see maybe a side of the Queen that you wouldn't otherwise usually get to see through the media?
Well, everybody who's worked with her and for her for the in the racing world understood the depth of her knowledge, but also the fact that she really loved it and she was really at ease among the horses. And like there were lots of storylines. So the chat was free-flowing, if you like. One of our stallions at the time was Jeremy, who was a direct descendant of Highclere, one of her own champion race mares. So she knew the pedigrees intimately of all her stallions. She had used Invincible Spirit with one of her own mares. And, we had lots of connections, if you like, over the years. Salist was the star stallion in the 1970s in the National Stud, and he was a son of Pall Mall, which had won the Guineas for the Queen. So every decade seemed to have strengthened the link between the Irish National Stud in Kildare and the royal family.
Now, you're not the only member of your family to have met the Queen, I believe. Your daughter also had the pleasure?
maybe she could tell you whether it was pleasure or pain, but she's here beside me if you want to say hello to the great Emma.
Hi, Emma.
Emma was press ganged.
Hello.
Hello.
Morning, Emma.
Tell us all about it.
Yeah, just like Dad said, it was all quite top secret. You know, I wasn't allowed to tell any of my friends in the run-up. There was lots of practicing. I had like 3 lines prepared to say to her, and the night before, like with my mum, running through them again and again, making sure I didn't say anything that I wasn't supposed to. And yeah, no, it was I'm still recognised and introduced as the little girl who met the Queen. So it's definitely something that has stuck with me through the years, but it's not a bad thing to have on my record.
It's an absolute lovely story to have to tell to future generations of your family going forward. Listen, thank you so much, both of you, for joining us and sharing your memories this morning. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, there's plenty of time to reach us today. You can text us for free on WhatsApp. The number is 0896 111 111.
Of course, you can email us, irelandam@virginmedia.ie.
And you can find us at IrelandAM VMTV on Facebook, Twitter and on Instagram.
Up next, it's time for some breakfast. Yoo-hoo. Very much looking forward to this. Muffins are on the menu. Talk to you after the break.
Welcome back to Ireland AM. They say breakfast is the most important meal of the day, but it doesn't have to be boring.
Krissy Gibson from Take the Cake is helping us break our fast this morning with some delicious breakfast muffin treats. Krissy, you're very welcome.
Thanks.
Now, your breakfast is never going to be boring, Krissy. So where are we going today?
It's actually so simple, and this is one of those staples in my house. When I don't know what to make for breakfast, I'll make breakfast treat muffins. These are really simple. You start with 120 grams of soft butter. That's about a quarter pound. And I do use salted butter because we're not adding any additional salt to this today. And then we're using 140 grams of light muscovado sugar. And the first thing we want to do is cream these 2 ingredients together. Blend them together until they're nice and fluffy. Now, make sure that when you do your shop for this recipe, or when you're looking through your press at home, make sure you grab light muscovado sugar and not dark muscovado and not demerara.
What's the difference?
So demerara sugar is it's a coarser, more granular sugar, and we're not going to get the result that we want. It's about the same flavor, but we want this light muscovado sugar, which is soft and slightly moist. And dark muscovado sugar has a lot more molasses in it, which is going to change the flavor of our muffins, and we don't want that. So light muscovado sugar. Now I've blended my butter and my sugar together, and as you can see, we have a nice and fluffy combination going. To this, I'm going to add 1 egg, just 1 egg, okay?
What did you pinch in there now?
Oh, that was just a little bit of sugar that flew out of my bowl.
Okay, sorry.
You thought a secret ingredient
No,
was
yeah,
going
I'm
in
just
there.
like, this is why mine never tastes like Krissy's, because she does something that she doesn't tell me.
Sorry, and sometimes I do. I'll throw something in and I won't mention it, and then we'll keep going. And you got to stay on me. For your egg, mix it up a little bit before you put it in. And I also want to take a moment to mention that 140 grams of sugar really actually isn't a lot. And these are not savory muffins by any means, but they're actually not that sweet either. Okay. They're technically a sweet muffin, but they're not that sweet.
So are we going to be getting 12 muffins out of the 140 grams of sugar?
Yeah, so this recipe does give you 1 dozen.
Okay.
Okay? Now, I've added the egg, and the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to blend my dry ingredients, because we want to add those next along with some buttermilk, okay? I have here 180 grams, forgive me, of self-raising flour. And I have a teaspoon each of baking powder and bread soda, okay? I'm also using a teaspoon of cinnamon. Now, if you don't have a teaspoon measure at home, like I do, I'm a Yank, the baking powder and the bread soda, that'll come out to about 5 grams each, okay? Okay. And the cinnamon, it will not come out to 5 grams. Cinnamon is very lightweight.
Right.
So don't go measuring 5 grams of cinnamon for this. Your cinnamon will end up being less than 1 gram.
And you'll have all the details on the website about these, because I know there's lots of different things being thrown in there. So we will.
And not to get confusing, the recipe is on the website.
Would there be anything to kind of replace the cinnamon there if you're not a fan of cinnamon?
Oh, Is that you, Killian?
I'm sorry to disappoint. I can hear that in your tone. I don't love the overuse of it.
That's okay, because whatever he doesn't eat, I'm going to just wolf anyway.
This isn't an overpoweringly cinnamon recipe.
Okay.
Although I did put a little bit of cinnamon and sugar on the top, so you might protest. But you know, I never have. Although you could probably just leave the cinnamon out entirely if you're not crazy about it.
Could you, like, instead of cinnamon, could you throw in, like, I know you're going to put some dried fruits in, but like a raisin or something like that, something else to kind of give a bit of...
We'll get to that.
All right. I'm getting ahead of myself here, okay.
So let her do her work. We've got 180 grams of self-raising flour with our teaspoon each of baking powder, bread soda, and cinnamon, okay? We're going to start mixing these dry ingredients with 240 mils of buttermilk. Now, that's about a cup of buttermilk, okay?
And is there a difference between the buttermilk? What does the buttermilk do for us that regular milk wouldn't?
That's a great question, actually, because when you bake with buttermilk, you're also baking with a raising ingredient, a proofing ingredient, bread soda. We have a chemical reaction happening here with our bread soda and our buttermilk.
It's like chemistry and cooking.
Yeah, no, actually baking is chemistry, and there are some things that we do in here that don't have to be exact, and there are some that do. You don't want to overuse the bread soda, and you don't want to overuse the buttermilk, but that reaction is what we're after. Whenever you're baking with buttermilk, you're going to see bread soda in there as well.
Okay.
So right now I'm going to finish mixing up our batter with the buttermilk and the flour. Now, I'm going to stop here. I'm going to do the rest with my spatula because we don't want to overmix this. What happens when you overmix your flour? You're overactivating the gluten, and you'll end up with rubbery muffins.
Is there a point where you would know that you're ready, your mix is ready?
I don't think so. I would just say,
up to you.
I would say underdo it. Stop when it's mixed.
Yeah.
When it's blended, just stop. Now,
if you do overdo it, can you recover it by adding a little bit more buttermilk or something like that?
No.
Okay. Just stick to the ingredients, Gil.
You guys have the great questions. So this is cereal. You can use Raisin Bran. You can use Bran Flakes. I used Fruit and Fiber today. These are great to pop into lunch boxes or to bring to the office, but sometimes with schools, I think all the time with schools, you can't bring anything with nuts. If you're going to send these to school with your child, don't use Fruit and Fiber because you'll find that most Fruit and Fibers on the market today have either hazelnuts or almonds or both.
And you should be so careful.
And I know you guys you're okay, so I used Fruit and Fiber today.
Yeah, we're all good.
Now, I mentioned earlier this isn't the sweetest muffin in the world. So I'm going to put in just a handful more of raisins because I like them.
Yeah.
And
no better excuse. You don't need to explain yourself, Krissy.
Yeah.
That's all it needs to be.
Because I like them.
Yeah.
Now, you notice how I didn't break up the cereal? I just put the cereal in whole. And it's okay. That's what we want.
Could you break it up? It's not going to make a massive difference if you do break it up.
You don't need to.
Okay.
One of the great things about this recipe is that it's easy and you can kind of throw it together like I just did, and you can kind of use up whatever cereal you have in your house.
Yeah.
I'm not saying use cornflakes. You want to use something with bran. Now, you want to fill your muffin cups. That's it. We're finished.
Done.
You want to fill your muffin cups about 3/4 of the way, all right? And as you notice, I did not chill my batter, but you can if you want. Once you've filled your muffin pan, your muffin tins, you can top them with cinnamon and sugar, like I did with yours. And
so you do that before they go in?
Before they go in, yeah. And then they'll kind of bake onto the top. You can't even really see that I did that on yours.
Can I start to taste mine?
Please,
do you mind?
please taste them.
Okay.
And you'll notice that they're really good with butter or jam.
Still warm. I get so excited. So I'm going to have one without the butter and jam because I just want to taste the top because I'm all about the crusty top. I love when you bake something you've got a bit of a crusty top on it.
I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now they're a very simple muffin.
I love it. So oftentimes you hear somebody in your position to say it's very simple to do this, and then you're bamboozled by how hard it is to do. But actually, this is achievable.
It is simple. It's totally simple. And sometimes, you know, every now and then we've got a box of bran flakes at our house that nobody's touching. And it's like, okay, I'll just make the muffins.
Or the ends as well are always another one. Because they are beautiful. I can't wait.
Like
I'm going to get, oh my God, I'm going to get so stuck in now. As usual, you can find the full recipe on our website or visit the takethecake.ie to find more from Krissy.
Up next, we have a lesson in blissful breathing. See you after the break.
You're very welcome back to the show now. Everyday life can come with many stresses, so if you're needing a moment of calm, slow breathing exercises can be game-changing tools to help reduce anxiety.
I think your voice would be great for like a meditation app, Elaine.
I was trying to kind of get us into it.
Wellness expert and Wim Hof method instructor Neil Muraku joins us. Neil, morning.
Thank you for having me.
How did you get into this in the first place? We've heard, and I'm blaming Dahi O'Shea and the Rose of Tralee for a lot of the Wim Hof mania that's gone around the country. But how did you hear of it first?
It was a time in our life, myself and my wife have 4 young children, so they were very young and we were struggling with the responsibility and stress of that. And I heard Wim Hof speaking on a podcast one night, and what he said seemed nearly unbelievable, that we could improve our health massively, our happiness massively and our strength just from a little bit of breathing and combining it with cold. And that was the moment that changed everything.
So conscious breathing, what exactly is it?
So when we're under stress, for example, we lose our ability to focus on our breath and our heart rate goes up. So the opposite's also true. If we can bring our attention to our breathing begins to slow down and calm down. And that has an amazingly beneficial effect for our nervous system and how we feel. And we can control our breath at any moment.
Oh, Neil, just talking to you.
I'm feeling calm.
I know, I'm already feeling calmer. What's then the science behind that? What's because there is science behind the fact of conscious breathing and it does benefit your body. What is the science that backs it up?
When we're not conscious of our breathing and we're under pressure, we move up into fight or flight, our heart rate gets faster, our mind becomes narrow and anxious. So when we start to focus, especially on these long, slow exhales, the vagus nerve activates, drops the heart rate, and moves us down to the nervous system, the other part, which makes us feel peaceful and safe again. And that's when we can adapt to whatever pressure we're facing.
Who is Wim Hof actually, and how did this method develop? Because we hear a lot about him, but I don't exactly know. So can you explain?
Yes, it came out of a moment of tragedy. Wim's wife, and they had 4 children as well. She jumped off an 8-story building. You know, she had suffered greatly from mental health problems, and from that, Wim felt the only thing that could help bring him back to life and to fix him after that was the cold. You know, in the cold, you can't think of anything else. So he couldn't think of the grief. He couldn't think of how he's going to raise these children. So he started to explore the cold, and out of that then came ways of breathing to help develop your abilities to deal with the cold.
You've done quite a few challenges now. I mean, what's the most extreme thing you have done?
As part of my training to be an instructor, we had to climb up a mountain in the depths of winter in Poland, -10, -20 degrees, just wearing a pair of shorts and boots.
Wow.
How do you survive something like that? I mean, it's not the safest thing to be doing, I would think.
Well, if you're prepared and you know what you're doing, it is quite safe. It sounds extreme, but you know, a lot of training goes into that. But it just shows us that our bodies are built to deal with extreme conditions. Not that we want to be doing that often, but if we need it, we can do it. And it's just giving our body a little taste of that harsh conditions every day, like a bit of cold at the end of your hot shower, that really changes us.
And I know you have a podcast as well. Has any big names come knocking at your door looking for a bit of assistance?
Yes, I do get quite a few famous people that I can't mention who are looking to deal with, say, the stresses and strains of performing. How do you prepare to perform, and how do you take control of how you feel when you're performing? So not everyone has to be famous. You know, we all have performances that we want to get better at, and using our breath is a key part.
I could see how just talking to you for 5 minutes before going on air would help, wouldn't it? Just like, you're like, quick, Neil, help me. You're like, okay, first thing you need to do is
My little nephew's 8, and he's actually started breathing in meditation recently off his own bat because he heard about it, and it really does help, and it can help children as well because they've all their little stresses and strains and anxiety back readjusting to our normal life after it.
Yeah, so that's where my focus has been for the last year or so, is helping children and teenagers deal with stress and anxiety from being locked away for 2 years. So we have a program designed for that we have in the schools, for example, that just helps them change how they feel through breathing.
Yeah.
And if we want a little bit more information on this from your perspective, you have a book as well.
Yes, so my book is called The Blissful Breath, and it's how 10 minutes of breathing every day can transform your life.
Just 10 minutes?
Wow.
Even less.
Wow. Right, Shook, go on. So
okay, this is it.
We're going to challenge you.
So we're going to do it.
What are we doing here now? So demonstration time.
Yeah, so if you want to just take a moment just to settle into the couch and find a comfortable position. And just closing your eyes now if that's comfortable. And bringing your full attention to your eyes and allowing them to soften. Bringing your attention to your jaw and your mouth and allowing them to soften. Softening your shoulders, softening your arms and your hands and your fingers, and even softening your belly. And slowly bringing your attention to your breath as it is now. And on your next inhale, gently breathing in and breathing slowly all the way out. And we're going to continue to breathe like this with a focus on this long, calm exhale. The breath in is soft and deep, but the focus is on this long, smooth exhale. And as you exhale, allow the body to soften a little more as you exhale. And allow your mind to follow the exhale all the way down to the bottom of that breath, and then breathing slowly in again. Finding your own pace, finding your own rhythm, allowing the body to soften a little more as you breathe all the way out. The breath in is gentle and soft. The breath out, breathing all the way down. And continue to breathe like this. And as we breathe with this focus on the exhale, our nervous system begins to unwind. The body begins to let go of stress and tension. Breathing and exhaling. Allowing the jaw to soften as you breathe. Allowing the shoulders to soften as you breathe. Allowing the mind to drift a little as you breathe all the way out. Breathing and allowing the breath to change how you feel. Allowing the breath to bring us down into the parasympathetic part of the nervous system where we feel peaceful, where we feel calm. Breathing. The emphasis here is on that long, slow exhale. Breathing. One last breath, gently in, all the way out. And just rest now for a moment. Allow your breathing to come back to its natural rhythm. And when you're ready, you can slowly open your eyes again.
Oh man, I almost fell asleep.
What do you do tomorrow morning at 10 to 9?
I'll be here.
Oh man, that is absolutely amazing. And if you kind of spend longer exhaling than inhaling, it seems to actually calm you a little bit more.
Yes, so people often focus on the big breath in, but it's actually this long, slow exhale that brings about this reaction in us where we feel peaceful really quickly.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing. Of course, the reminder that Neil's book, Blissful Breath, is available online and in all good bookstores nationwide.
I want to snooze now, but I can't because up next, grab your Stetsons. We're off to the Wild West. I want to go for a nap. Fashion is next. Thanks a million. See you in 3. That's waking me up after my little breathing meditation session there a while ago. You're very welcome back. Now, if you and your friends in low places are heading to Garth this weekend, well, you need something to wear, won't you?
Yeehaw! Stylist Shirley Lane is adding some Cowboy to our wardrobe. Shirley, good morning.
Please tell me you don't have chaps.
No, not this morning.
Not this morning. Good, right. So what do you have for us then?
So So we have gorgeous. Actually, if you go into the high street at the minute, away from the concert today, it's actually, that's what's in. That's a real trend. So every high street store from Mango to Hollister, it's all cowboy-inspired looks. Yeah, it's mad. Like mint velvet with beautiful stuff from there later, nice boots. But yeah, it's a trend for the season ahead. It's just coincidence that Garth Brooks is in town this weekend and next.
We don't have to be blaming him for any plaid shirts and cowboy boots wandering around Dublin then.
They're on the shop floor. But you know what? They're actually lovely. They really are. I think everything in moderation, you know. You just throw in a cowboy boot. We've Yumiko up first. And you'll see this now. This is exactly what I would wear if I was going to the concert, you know.
Yes.
I'm all for, if you want to go to the concert, you want to dance, you want to have a ball, you want to just have fun, right? And this is great because I love the hat. I think it's absolutely beautiful.
Not exactly a Stetson, but you know, it's a nod
it's similar.
to the...
We're going to do baby steps to it. This hat, again, you could wear. I love something like this, especially if you're out at the weekend and it's going to be raining, you've just got your hair done. This is beautiful. And again, Mango have lots of this kind of look. Beautiful hats, real huge range of cowboy boots. Lots of them are 100% leather, which is amazing. And again, for me, practicality, going to a concert, get a coat. You know, don't freeze inside there. You're outdoors. You want to have fun. There's nothing more miserable than when you're frozen. So get a nice, good coat. I love this coat. I just love the length of it, number one. I love the fit. You know, you're not swamped in a coat. It's easy to take it off and throw it over your arm. But this length is beautiful. And I just put this little gorgeous dress. It's long sleeve, beautiful, easy dress. And then we're going to come down to the boots. So
these are the centrepiece of the look now. We have the cowboy boots.
So these are 100% leather, full cowboy boot, but they're flying off the shop floor. I can't even tell you how much. Yesterday, there was only a handful of them left, and they're back in again this week. But they're amazing. I love the height of the boot, actually. You know, they're really nice and slimming on the leg, but look at the sole of them. They're so comfortable.
And they'd rock with jeans, and they'll take you right through to the rest of the
So if you like a skinny jean, or if you like a shorter dress like this with your black opaque tights, these boots are perfect.
And
again,
they're not too cowboy, because I was almost expecting you to come out in a pair of Daisy Dukes and the associated garb, but no, this is a quite subtle nod to it.
This is how to do it and actually get the wear out of them instead of just wearing them for the one concert. But I love these boots. I think they're just such a staple in your wardrobe, but they go with so much. You know, and again, we're being a bit early with the black opaque tights. But it's
chilly, I'm sorry.
Isn't it chilly? Yeah, absolutely. On to the men now next.
Now,
I don't see any cowboy boots here. What's going on?
Well, if you see every promotional shot for Garth Brooks, he's wearing a jacket like this with a fur inside.
What's the jacket called? The style jacket? Yeah, is there a style further than the name of it?
No, I don't even think there is a name for it.
It's Garth Brooks.
It's now the Garth Brooks.
It comes actually in a denim as well, which you see on the promotional shots, but I think this is beautiful. This is Hollister, and Hollister are just, I love their quality. They just do a fabulous basics, and they just wash and wear for years to come.
And coming into the season, you do have to spend a bit of money on a staple jacket that you're going to have.
But again,
it's cold. It's getting cold now.
But it's $119. It's a beautiful piece, you know. And again, Hollister are known for quality. They're known for fashion and quality and all of that, but you feel the cotton of like the shirt. It's amazing. And Hollister have a huge unit in Blanchardstown Centre. It's fantastic. And I love the shirt, actually. It's just so soft, so warm, so comfortable. And this shirt actually comes in about 5 different ranges of colours.
There's something very snuggly about a plaid shirt.
I love it. Yeah, you feel it, and it comes in a green and a wine and loads of different options. And these jeans are beautiful. I love Hollister jeans. I just think, you know what, you buy once and you have them forever. But they're beautiful, great price point. Love the colour denim. But this is ideal, like if you're going to the concert. But again, after the concert, you get so much wear out of all of this look, whether it's put together or you're going to wear them as separates. And I love the boots. Really like these boots because obviously if you are going to a concert,
they look comfy. You can walk in them.
Again, they're full leather. Aldo are known for full leather, and just get something that's just going to work in with your wardrobe. That colour is going to work with everything.
And like you say, a pair of chinos, and you'll be laughing with them as well.
Yeah,
so
absolutely. I love that look, and I just think Hollister just do that kind of thing really well.
Yeah.
And even if you're looking for hoodies and stuff, Hollister's amazing. Really, really nice. But all of our looks there, Blanchardstown Centre, all brand new. Literally just in the door.
Now this I can get. I like
I was
this.
just going to say, she turned the corner and I went, there's Elaine Crowley.
I wish it looked like
Elaine,
that
actually,
anyway.
you look gorgeous in this look. I love this. And again, when you're going to a concert, something like these jeans are amazing. We're just ditching the skinny jeans this morning, right? So we're going for that beautiful.
I think I have them
flare.
actually.
Are they amazing?
Are they River Island?
I love the top. Yeah, they are River Island. Love this top. I love the colour. Love the off the shoulder. You
Very
can have
flattering.
Isn't it so
for all
flattering?
shapes and sizes.
Yeah, and you have your full sleeve. Again, it's fully off the shoulder. Here you can put it off one shoulder and have a little bit more coverage if you need to. But it's fab. I love it. Really kind of 60s inspired. But something like this for the concert is amazing. But the jeans. The fit of these jeans are incredible.
There's a little bit of give in them as well.
There's great give in them. But look at the shape. These come in 3 different leg lengths. You have your short, your regular, your long. These are the long on Audrey. The most beautiful kind of fabric. They're like a proper jean versus a jegging.
And the hem at the end there is it's a cut off, so it's not got a tight hem, which I kind of like because sometimes with flare jeans, the hem can look a bit too thick and heavy, and it gets too
like
60s. Whereas this is a raw hem.
I love them. And look at the boots. I'm just going to get Audrey just to pull the bottom of the jeans up just to show the boots for a sec. They're stunning.
Gorgeous colour.
I think the colour is fabulous. And again, you were kind of getting away from the whole neutral heel for a minute and getting into the boots, but boots don't have to be black, you know? And this look in River Island, I just love it.
Absolutely
Such easy wear.
A little bit of inspiration for anyone heading out tonight or tomorrow night or next weekend.
Exactly. We'll 3 more looks later.
Back for more later.
Thank you.
Now, still to come, Glen Rose star Isobel Mahon joins us.
Plus, Krissy is back with another breakfast treat. We'll see you in a few minutes.
Victim's name is Leo Kopernik, sir. Seems he was killed in the costume store. And then he was deposited here. Staged, so to speak. Sorry, sir.
How much longer do you intend to hold us all hostage?
Or is that the idea? Gather all the suspects and interrogate each of us in turn until the mystery's solved?
Marvin Cocker-Norris, overrated playwright.
Celebrated playwright?
Oh, I'm so sorry, sir. I can't read my own handwriting.
Now we'll check on your morning paper, starting with the Irish Times. It leads with household bills could hit €6,000 a year. The paper reporting that household energy bills could climb as high as €6,000 a year. Internal government documents show.
Garda probe after 2 small children killed in car blaze. That's the front page of the Irish Independent. They report the Gardaí and Mullingar are investigating all circumstances surrounding the deaths of a young boy and a young girl who died following a car fire in Westmeath on Friday.
The Examiner leads with call for rolling energy support. It reports that households will need to be supported with their energy bills on a rolling basis into next year. Otherwise, costs will hit €900 by January.
Onto the tabloids. The Daily Mail lead with double boost to ease hikes. The paper reporting that households are going to get 2 further energy credits to combat soaring bills.
On to the front page of the Mirror. It leads with 2 kids killed in car fireball horror. They report that the mum was fighting for her life as she was injured in a car fire that killed 2 children.
The Sun go with a similar story with the headline, Kids Killed in Car Fire.
The Herald also leads with that story. The headline goes with 2 children die in car blaze.
And finally, the Star leading with King and Country. The paper reports that an emotional Garth Brooks broke down in tears on stage as he finally took to Croke Park to headline the first of 5 historic gigs last night.
Now, Virgin Media News correspondent Zara King is broadcasting live from London this morning. Good morning, Zara. In the last hour, we officially have a King Charles in the UK now. The session just happened in the last while. Tell us what the atmosphere is like there.
Yes, good morning, guys. We are here at St James's Palace in London, so literally in the last kind of 5 minutes, we've heard the crowd singing God Save the King, the national anthem here, and King Charles III officially proclaimed. Of course, he became king the moment Queen Elizabeth died, but this was the formal ceremony that took place for that to happen. So in that speech, in the speech that he made this morning, he said that he was deeply aware of this great inheritance and the duties and responsibilities of sovereignty that have been passed to him. And he spoke about the fact that he wanted wanted to continue on and strive to follow the example that was set by the Queen. King Charles also saying that he was profoundly encouraged by the constant support of his beloved wife Camilla, who also attended the ceremony this morning, alongside his son Prince William, who is now the Prince of Wales, taking on that new role, while Catherine Middleton is now the Princess of Wales, following in the footsteps of the late Princess Diana. Just in terms of the crowds here today, obviously people who gather at palaces generally are supporters of the monarchy, so I suppose to keep that in mind in terms of asking them that question about the future of the monarchy and whether Charles has what it takes to secure the future of the monarchy, because obviously Queen Elizabeth was on the throne here for 70 years, so this is a moment of great change for this country, and it really, I suppose, the question remains about whether or not or how this will play out. So we wanted to ask people gathering here today if they think the future of the monarchy is secure under the new King Charles.
Knowing that he's really into climate change, and I do think that he's learnt from mistakes in the past and may want to, be more popular with the public in the future going forward. So let's hope so. I mean, he's got big shoes to fill really with the Queen, with how popular she is, and a change is worrying, but it may be a great thing at the same time.
I think he's conducted himself really well over the last few years, very respectful, dignified, and I think is rightly the king.
Dear Your Majesty, we will miss you, the Penelope.
I think there'll be a lot of change. So we've grown. She's my mum, so we're mum and daughter. Well, I've grown up with the Queen, so it's a huge change. But over the years, I've grown to like Charles a lot more, and I think he's grown on a lot of people as well, because they've seen kind of like the softer side of him. So I think, yeah, it will be a lot of change, but I think it'll be a good change.
Well, this is obviously a key moment as well for the thousands of British people who are living in Ireland at the moment, who are watching the news this morning and who are thinking of home, particularly thinking of the loss of their Queen, Britain's Queen Elizabeth. Just in terms of the relationship between Ireland and the UK, it's a very important one, of course. And Camilla and Charles have made no secret of the fact that they are big fans of Ireland. And we can take a look at some of the pictures. They've visited Ireland on 6 separate occasions over the last couple of years since the Queen's visit in 2011. They've become almost annual visitors. They obviously weren't able to come during the pandemic, but including a visit in 2019 when the royal couple attended the Glen Cree Centre for Peace and Reconciliation in County Wicklow, and I was there that day myself. I remember the Prince at the time and Camilla meeting with Michael D. Higgins and Sabina, and there was definitely a very warm connection between both of those couples. So King Charles now, I suppose, has always made it clear that the relationship between Ireland and the UK was one that was very important and one that must remain strong. And their most recent visit, they went to Waterford City back in March, and then on to Tipperary. They got a lovely tour of the Rock of Cashel that day and were walking through a market. And also during that visit, the royal couple at the time requesting, if people remember, to meet the family of Aisling Murphy. That was something they personally wanted to do at the time. So there is great affection from this new king in terms of the Irish people and the connection with Ireland, and that's something that will be very important in terms of going forward, that the bond between these two countries remains strong. So in terms of what actually happens next, well, one simple thing, for example, is the flags that were lowered in mourning for the late Queen. They will now fly at full mast for the new king. So this is sort of the beginning of this transition of power now here in the United Kingdom. And just in terms of the Queen's funeral, we know that that will now be a bank holiday, as we had expected.
Zara King, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We've had a lot of reaction, of course, to the news of the Queen's passing. Loads of texting this morning, Killian.
Yeah, it's mad how quick it's all happening. Like, it literally is. I know there's that expression, you know, the Queen is dead, long live the King, because it's immediate. But Dave texted in saying, it's just hit me. So many things need to change. They've got to update their money, their stamps, their signs. Everything has to be King Charles III now. All of it, it's mad how the amount of stuff that has to happen now off the back of this.
I presume they're phasing it all out. And
Oh,
you can't
yeah,
just recall all the money.
It'll take a while. It is a gradual process until that money's gone. Joan says, I always loved the outfits the Queen wore. She always went to an appearance in some sort of bright ensemble. It was a smart way of sticking out from the crowd. She did always look. Her style was always on form.
John says, it's lovely looking back at the moments in Ireland. I can't believe it was 11 years ago. And Tracy says, I was in Cork City when the Queen came to visit the English market back in 2011. I couldn't even get into the building. It was so jammed. It was. And what did the monkfish, what did he call the monkfish?
Oh, the mother-in-law fish.
The mother-in-law fish.
This is the big ugly head in it.
Big ugly, the teeth.
It was something to do with the teeth as well. I remember him saying it as well.
And she made. They looked gas. In fairness, they looked like they had a great relation to Pat.
Well, he's a very affable man.
Fishmonger.
There's a good bit of crack about him, so you could see how he's the perfect man to meet the Queen and represent it. Emma texted in saying, "Such a sadness watching back footage of the Queen when she's been here over the years. She'll be hugely missed." And even though she wasn't our Queen, she still was. You know, she extended the olive branch and she came over and.
You saw a figure.
Yeah.
She's a pivotal figure in modern history, obviously. She's been literally through all the wars.
Yeah, I know. My God, she's seen an awful lot in her time, hasn't she?
And just on earlier as well in our suicide prevention chat, very moving segment. Great to see Aaron raising awareness for such a good cause, top man.
Absolutely great young man, of course. There's plenty of time to reach us today. You can text us for free on WhatsApp. The number is 0896 111 111.
You can email irelandam@virginmedia.ie.
And of course, you can find us at Ireland AM VMTV on Facebook, Twitter, and on Instagram.
Up next, Glenroe favourite Isobel Mahon is in the building.
And she's going to be joining us just after this break. See you in 3.
Our next guest is no stranger to the small screen. She stole hearts as the lovable Michelle Haughey in Glenroe, is a practising psychotherapist and has now added author to her list of credentials.
Isobel Mahon is joining us. Morning to you, Isobel. How are you?
Hi, guys. Hi, Killian.
You really,
Yeah.
you have had such an incredible life in terms of life experience, which obviously we're here to talk about your book, but aside from that, you spent 16 years, was it, on Glenroe?
16 years as Michelle and Glenroe. Honest to God, we grew up together. We were literally a family. And we you know, we'd sit all around the table and you'd get the family dynamic. You'd get the mummies and the daddies and, the siblings. It was hilarious.
Yeah, actually, before we came in here, the two of you were comparing your Irish soap credentials. Killian's decade in Glenroe, in Fair City, and yours in Glenroe. I mean, when you look back, I don't think people now understand, especially in the era of streaming.
I know.
How big Glenroe actually was. I mean, even now I call Sunday nights when you get a touch of the Glenrose. The music for Glenroe came on and you knew the week was starting. That was the last nice thing to happen to the weekend before Monday rolled through and school was back.
People would hear and they would get the horrors about their homework. The fear would come over them, but there were also great times, and that's right. There was so little else. It was 2-channel land, literally for a long time.
And it was definitely one of those things that I have these memories of. You're out of the bath, wrapped in the towel, the fire's on. I don't know if that ever happened, but I've told myself that what was a Sunday night, and it was definitely something that it was a show that would be always on, and whether your granny, your mom, everybody was there watching it. It was definitely, before the likes of the big streaming and the Game of Thrones and everything else. That was our Game of Thrones. That was something that everyone gathered around to watch every week.
No, I'm going to claim that. That was your Game of Thrones. I'm taking that one.
Yeah, but that's not the only thing, obviously, that you've been doing. You're better known, I suppose, now for your work as a psychotherapist. And how did you segue from acting to psychotherapy? It seems a bit of a leap.
Well, it was and it wasn't. Everything we do are about stories and about people's stories and what makes people tick, what makes people who they are. So when I was in Glenroe, I started training as a therapist. I was a practising Buddhist and I was looking after a small group of people. And I realised, God, I'm a complete amateur here. There's people coming in with all sorts of stories. I don't know how to deal with. So that's when I started training as a therapist. And then I started writing kind of around the same time because, again, it's all about the stories.
Did you find then writing as an outlet was cathartic for you in terms of being able to get things maybe out of your head, out of your heart, onto the page? Was it something that you felt was almost a therapy for you?
Well, yes and no. I think everything comes out in a sort of disguise. I mean, when I wrote this, it was a story about a woman going through a hard time who finds her help from a celestial source. But actually, people are reading it and go, do you know what? That is so you. That's so you. That's just like you and your dad. And a pal of mine phoned me up from London, roaring, laughing, and she was reminded of, we shared this flat in Mountjoy Square, and we were supposed to be the caretakers, God help us. We lived in the roof of this house, and the kids would run up and down the gullies, and they'd knock in on the skylights at night. We were sleeping in our clothes. We were absolutely terrified. So, of course, a bit of this went into the book. So no matter what what you start out writing about. I'm sure Shakespeare ended up writing about his mammy somewhere in the plays. Do you know what I mean? It's
Lady Macbeth.
Oh, smart, very smart, Elaine. But I think we all end up, writing who we are in the guise of, the story.
And there are similarities between the lead character in your book and yourself. There is certainly some comparisons to be drawn with losing a parent early on in life.
Yeah, and you know what? I didn't think... That's so odd. You don't notice when you're doing it. I lost my dad when I was 9. Myself, my brother was 10, I was 9. And that was it was very life-shaping. Looking back, I would say, it made us all who we are. Of course, I still miss him. And I still feel him very much with me. It's, 50 years on, but I still feel him around me. And I always call for him for help. So I never kind of feel he's completely gone. But the character, yes, she did lose her dad. But their family scattered. They kind of went their own separate ways. Whereas I think our family very much, we clung together and we're still probably a very bonded family because we don't take it for granted, We don't take that closeness for granted.
Processing grief, of course, is important as well.
Yeah.
And you touch on that in the book.
Yeah, well, absolutely. And I think grief can come out in strange ways, which is why it's so important, I feel, to end up actually telling the truth. That whatever has happened, if you go back and speak what originally happened. I mean, this character in the book, she lost her dad when he was 19. It all happened very suddenly. But instead of actually anybody talking about it, everyone kind of clammed up and went their own separate directions and kind of separated. And I know with me, when I lost my dad, what happened was, it was those days when it was thought that you protected children by not telling them, not protecting them from grief. I didn't see my dad in hospital, I didn't go to the funeral, but that was considered to be the best way, because when you did that, you were protecting children from sad memories or sad associations. And when I saw his grave, when I was 26, I was astonished that it was so new, it was so old. I was expecting this brand new kind of plaque, but that's what happens, because literally your grief stays stuck until you speak it, and then it gets a chance to work its way through and become part of you.
How do you kind of weave those kind of themes through a work of fiction? It's your first novel.
Yeah.
And a bit challenging in itself, but trying to kind of keep engaging and not kind of getting too bogged down in it. But did you find that difficult, or...?
Not actually really at the time. And I suppose because I was telling the stories of the character. It's only when you find the character finding themselves, reminiscing about a hospital or sitting in a restaurant and reminiscing, that suddenly you find yourself drawing on old experiences. But they are old. It's almost like if you're drawing on it as an actor, you draw on parallels to your own experience, like where you and the character meet, that's your sweet spot. And it's the same, but you are always talking through the fictional characters in the book, so you're kind of at one remove.
You have a lovely way of dealing with the way you write. There are dark themes and some very, very dark themes in the book, but not too heavy as you're reading it. It's kind of, not that it's brushed over or it's jovial anyway, but it's dealt with really nicely. And I think, did you draw from your, because obviously this isn't the first thing you've written, this is the first novel, but
I'm a playwright.
You're a playwright.
Yeah.
And understanding that dialogue between characters through the playwrights, were you able to use that with our lead and then this celestial being, as you described him as, the angel?
He's an angel. He's a bit of an underachiever, but he is an angel. Not a particularly holy angel at all. That's a good question. I don't think that I don't think I did get... Sorry, just remind me of that question again.
I was just touching on how you dealt with these dark subjects, but with a lighter
hand. Using an angel, basically.
Using an angel. Yeah, I dealt with the dark subjects because I think we all end up... Well, I've certainly found myself sitting in dreadful situations, and then somebody like my brother, he'd make a cat laugh, he's hilarious, but he'll always make a joke, or not make a joke, but just find the irony in something. And there's something about the sheer ridiculousness of life and death. And I think I'm a kind of very spiritual person, so I do see that at the end, I don't see death as being the end. I see it as very much a doorway. You know, you get a doorway into this life, you get a doorway out. But I mean, that it's all part of the greater picture.
Yeah.
And perhaps that gives it a lighter touch.
I have to say now, I've known you donkey's years.
Donkeys.
Donkey's years.
Donkeys.
Donkey's years.
When Shep was a pup.
And I never, until this very day, knew that you once dated Bono. Explain yourself, Mrs.
Janie. We were in national school. We were in Glasnevin National School. And he was a year ahead of me. He was my brother's best pal. Or he was, yeah, they were a little gang. And we had a little gang that used to meet in our coal house.
Oh, the romance.
Oh, so romantic. And we used to get Café Noir biscuits and Marmite sandwiches. And we used to go to the Botanic Gardens. When, do you know what I mean? We were only little kids. Everyone was allowed to do what they wanted in those days. But we just hung out as a little gang and we'd
I wonder now, were you inspiration to any songs? I wonder now, are you reading into the lyrics thinking, with or without you? Is that me and the biscuits he's talking about?
Yes, absolutely, Killian, you're so right.
So listen, the book is available online through Amazon, but probably the best place to get it is not the UK Amazon site.
Oh, thank you for it. This is my book. And I think little books have a kind of a life of their own. Once they're written,
you've given birth to it, fly off.
Exactly, they sort of float away themselves, and it's got a life of its own, and it's looking for its readers, you see. But honestly, if you get onto, God bless the EU, if you get onto Amazon FR, Amazon DE, Amazon anywhere.
Except UK.
Except UK, because they're saying
UK.
it's not available, but it is available. There's only an English language version. You can't get it in Polish, like I always end up accidentally doing. You'll only get the version. But you'll get it in a few days because
and
once
if you like the old-fashioned way, hop into a bookshop.
Well, now, I tell you who has it. Books upstairs. It's in small bookshops at the moment.
Perfect.
And I'm sort of working on
well, bookdepository.com will have it anyway, so you'll be able to find it.
Absolutely.
Listen, Isobel, a pleasure as always.
Pleasure is all mine.
Can't believe you've dated Bono.
Still, how are we going to top that? Still to come this morning, we're getting a second helping of breakfast.
He nearly knocked me down once in Temple Bar. That's my only claim to fame there. And Blackberry Crumble bars are on the menu. That's next.
Welcome back to Ireland AM. It's time for round 2 of our morning breakfast.
2 breakfasts. I love this. Krissy is back with some Blackberry Crumble bars. Krissy.
Hi again.
Are these one of these things that are probably full of butter and bad for us, but taste amazing?
They're not too bad. Yeah, there's butter in them, but there is nutritional value.
Okay.
Now, blackberries are everywhere right now. So, you know, the theme this month is blackberries. We've got to figure out what the heck to do with them. And these are sort of a variation on a crumble. These are actually more of a bar than a crumble. You're actually meant to eat them with your hands, just like you would a granola bar. But just in case you'd like to eat them with
I love that you think we're fancy enough to use cutlery.
I gave you some freshly whipped cream, just in case you'd like to eat it with whipped cream. It's also good with custard, or if you want to eat them warm, they're good with vanilla ice cream. But the point is to let them cool and then slice them into bars. So we start by making the crust and the crumble. Which is the same thing. We start with 450 grams of self-raising flour, okay? And we're going to add 200 grams of white sugar. I use castor sugar because it's easier to break down. It's a finer sugar. And a teaspoon of baking powder, which is about 5 grams. And then a little less salt. We're just going to use a quarter of a teaspoon of salt, which is maybe two or three healthy pinches, okay? That's going to come out to be less than a gram. So, so to that dry mixture, we are going to add some chilled butter. Now, when you're making a short crust for a pie shell, the butter has to be chilled. I'm using relatively chilled butter today, but if your butter isn't chilled, it's actually not that big of a deal because we don't have to roll this out into a pie shell.
It's just better to have it chilled. If you can make it chilled, it's going to add to advantage.
And this what we're going for here is sort of a a crumbly texture with our crust.
The reason why we're going for the chilled butter is because there'll still be little lumps of butter, as opposed to if it was soft, it would just be a paste. Is that kind of?
Exactly. So you'll have more of a dough. It'll look like a dough if it's soft butter, but you can still work with it. And then with chilled butter, you're going to get the sort of, it'll look more like sand. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it clumped together a little bit, maybe, is it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
What is this contraption that you're using? Because I know you're the queen of contraptions, especially. Obviously, you're the queen of cooking, queen of baking. What is this?
Contraptions. This is just a pastry cutter.
Okay.
And if you don't have one of these, a regular fork will do just fine. Your hands will do just fine. When I'm making short crust or crumble or pastry shell, I do like to use my hands because I feel like I have more control over it. Also, what else have I used? I've used potato mashers.
That's what I thought it was, a potato masher.
Me too, actually.
Yeah.
Whatever works. And the simplest would just be a fork, a dinner fork.
Okay.
It'll work just fine. Now, while we're mixing this up, we're going to add just a couple more things to our crumble and crust. We're going to add 1 egg. We're going to mix up that egg just a little bit before we add it. And 1 teaspoon, that's 5 mils of pure vanilla extract, okay?
Love vanilla.
Now, we're going to mix this up, like I said, until it sort of looks like sand, okay? And this is going to be not only our base, but it will be our topping. And I think I forgot to mention earlier this morning how to bake your muffins. This is the time you want to start preheating your oven to about 160 degrees, okay?
So when you're at that process, your oven goes on, let it preheat.
Yeah. Let it warm up. So, if we had more time here today, I could probably give this another minute or two, but you get the idea.
Yeah.
I'm going to transfer this now over to a greased casserole dish. Now, a word about that. First of all, I'm using glass today. That's fine. But I have found that when I'm baking a tray bake in a glass dish, it bakes a little more slowly than if I was using a metal one. So if you're using a glass one at home, tack a few extra minutes onto your baking time. Okay.
Is there any reason why the glass just doesn't cook it through?
I think that the metal just, in my experience, it just distributes the heat a little more evenly. I'm not quite sure.
Yeah.
But I had 10 trays of brownies in the oven last week, and all the metal dishes came out perfectly baked, and all of the glass dishes came out underdone.
Oh.
So you go figure.
So always go with the tin. If you wanted to cook at the right time and temperature, you're better off to go with the tin.
Yeah, metal is good, but glass is also okay.
Okay.
Just add a few minutes to your baking time.
And what have you've greased it with?
I just used a cooking spray.
Okay.
Now, another thing that you can do is line your tray with aluminium foil. Every time I say aluminium, I'm very proud of myself because I don't say the aluminum.
Yeah.
Aluminum.
I feel like I'm posing. Aluminium. Okay, so I'm going to divide this in half, okay?
And one half is for your top and one half is for your bottom.
We're going to use half of it now and half of it later. So you can line this with aluminium foil if you'd like, and then spray that instead. And the point is, after it cools, you can just lift the whole thing up and cut it evenly, okay? It's 100% your choice. You can also eat this not as bars. You can eat this as a crumble if you'd like, but they're nice and easy as bars.
And especially if you're, doing this on a Sunday and you pop these, will they last the week if you pop them into lunchboxes for the week?
Yeah. Absolutely, and there's no nuts, so this is a safe, it's a safe item to pack in a lunchbox. Nut-free, no allergens in here, really.
So once that's based on the bottom, you're going to move over to your
Blackberry.
Your lovely blackberry mix.
The filling, yeah. So what we have here are 740 grams of blackberries. Like I said, they're everywhere right now. You can go up and down the canal. They're everywhere here in Dublin. If you're picking them wild, you want about that much. If you're buying them at the store, I'd say get 5 punnets or so. So blackberries that are big, you want to cut in half, okay? And that way they'll bake a little better for you. We are going to take the zest of 1 lemon and the juice of 1 lemon. Just to save time today, I'm going to use lemon juice that I've already done. And we're also going to add 25 grams of cornstarch, and only 100 grams of sugar, okay? So these ingredients we're going to mix together, and that will be our filling. All right, lemon juice, sugar, and it doesn't matter the order, and corn flour. We're just going to mix this up, and we pour that in over our crust.
And the corn flour is to kind of amalgamate everything together and keep it, or what's the...
And also thicken it up, okay? So if you'll notice, if you look in the middle of your bar here, it sort of looks like a jam. And that's because the corn flour helps bind it together and solidify what's going on here with our filling. Okay?
And obviously blackberries are everywhere at the moment, so it's great to kind of make use of them. I'm assuming could replace that with any other fruit, like a strawberry, raspberry.
100%. 100%.
We've just less than a minute. Can I have a little bite?
Please taste it. And then the rest of this. The rest of this, I'm just going to crumble over the top like this.
So the base you've patted down to mash it a bit.
I did.
That's what gives us the kind of the harder bottom. And then the top you're just sprinkling over. That's where you get the kind of flakiness.
Exactly.
So
delicious.
Are you using it as a bar? I'm using it as a bit of like a cake situation. I know they're bars.
They're delicious, cold or warm.
And how long will they last once made?
These will last a week in the fridge, and you want to. I like to try to eat them within a few days.
Perfect. That's beautiful.
Well, as usual, all the full recipe details are up on our website. You can also find more sweet treats from Krissy at takethecake.ie.
Coming up, we're setting your inner cowboy and cowgirls free. Stay tuned for more fashion after the break. Welcome back. The country is in the midst of Garth Mania this weekend, so what else would we showcase on the catwalk? Only cowboy styles.
Yes, Stylist Shirley Lane joins us with options for you and your friends in low places. Oh my God, it's getting worse. Right, what have you next, Shirley?
Now, I'll take over.
Okay, thank you very much.
So we've gorgeous bits. If you're going to the concert, amazing. But as I said earlier, like that cowboy trend is on the high street. So again, you find a bit of trend that works for you. I'm actually just going to give the Daisy Dukes a break, and we're going to go for a beautiful dress and leather jacket. Again, a leather jacket. You'll see everyone wears a leather jacket to a concert like that. You know, it's ideal. You just throw it over a little dress.
Yeah.
Now this I love. I think this is beautiful. So we're not going with the whole huge cowboy boots, but I love these boots. Again, it's fun, the whole cowboy trend. These are mint velvet. And again, if you're mint velvet, you're going quality, a little bit more of a premium brand. And again, starting off with the jacket, which is very moda. I actually have this jacket myself. I have it about 3 or 4 years. It looks brand new. It's $39.99, so it's a faux leather. Yeah, it looks gorgeous. It's very moda. They bring it in every single year, but it's fab. It really, really is. I think this dress is perfect for going out for a concert. In a few weeks, you throw a pair of black tights with it. And again, it's mint velvet BT2 in Blanchardstown Centre, but it's one of those you put on, you don't need a belt, you can breathe. You know, this gorgeous flow to it. I love the little kind of a double ruffle at the end. Just gives it an extra little bit of detail. And I love the old V-neck. For me, I love a V-neck on a dress. And look, you see the little puff shoulder, which is gorgeous. Nothing too frilly. This dress, for me, is one of those that you just wear to death over winter.
Nice structure to it, actually.
It is lovely and so comfortable, and it's lined. Again, we're seeing it now with bare legs and just beautiful white boots. But again, you could just wear a black ankle boot, black opaque tights for the whole winter. Love these boots. I think they give great leg shape. They're 100% leather. They're super soft.
The V at the front really kind of accentuates the leg, doesn't it?
They give a great shape to the leg. They really do. And I love that it's not a stiletto heel, that there's a little bit more support in the heel because, again, so many people are out of practice. So it's nice to get just a little bit of a blockier heel. I love this look. Such an easy look, but again, really concert look, which is amazing.
I love the out of practice. We're falling around like newborn foals, for God's sake. Never mind out of practice. Still, more sensible shoes again here, but we'll start at the top and work our way down.
So again, when I was looking at the images for the Garth Brooks promotional things, he's either in the denim jacket with the fur collar or he's wearing something like this varsity jacket.
Yeah.
And again, you see something like this in Hollister. This is the Pennies one, which only arrived in like 2 days ago, but I love it.
A varsity jacket can
really like
it's good
it.
for all ages,
It
you know, all
is.
sizes. It is
and
good.
it's warm. Look at the price, €20. I love it. And again, you could just wear it over a white t-shirt or a navy t-shirt. Again, we're sticking with that plaid shirt that we touched upon in the earlier segment.
Go on, say it.
This is the green one. I love it.
He's going to say Yeee-Haaa, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeee-Haaa!
But it's beautiful. Look at the price point of this. It looks so much more expensive. The shirt at €11, the jacket 20. We're actually speaking about these jeans actually out the back. Daniel was like, I love these jeans. They're so comfortable. really good leg length and colour.
The colour is beautiful. It's hard.
Fab?
It's hard to find such a deep dark denim.
It's kind of French navy, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like a gorgeous
Look at the
navy.
price point. So like your whole outfit is so affordable, but it looks amazing. And again, ideal for everyday weekend wear. Really, really nice quality without breaking the bank. And look at these boots. These are just a gem that I found in TK Maxx in Blanchardstown Centre in the retail park. I love them. Real cowboy-inspired, leather inside.
Colour's
really
gorgeous.
nice detail actually under the hem of the boot there that you can't really see, but they're fab. Love this look.
Yeah.
Really nice,
And altogether,
easy
quite
to
a
wear.
reasonable outfit top to toe.
Exactly, because like clothes don't have to be expensive, you know. You can really get great finds with a great price point. But look at that jacket for €20.
Yeah.
And again, Pennies in Blanchardstown Centre is amazing because it's big and easy to shop from. There's loads of product, but it's gorgeous.
I sense a theme with these three looks now. This is quite similar to our first look, but the more relaxed look to the jacket.
Exactly, and this one is for those that need the longer length in a dress. You know, that you don't want the real mini dress, you know. And I love this. So this is going premium leather. So this is from Selected. And Selected in Blanchardstown Centre. So you've selected femme, you've selected ham. Love it. You're buying a leather jacket that's going to last a lifetime. So $199.99. I actually have a peach version of that from like 15 years ago, still new, still on the go.
Not very practical.
I love it. I take it out every single winter, and I love the dress. Really, really nice. But Selected, you go in and just these easy dresses. Again, you can belt this up if you wanted to. I love it just like really relaxed. Again, loads of kind of size range, but I love the length of this. If you wanted it for work, and you just wanted to put like a nice stiletto heel. Obviously, Audrey's quite tall, but again, you can wear tights with it. No
The midi dresses are kind of gone now. We're going kind of
They
above the knee,
are. I
aren't
think
we?
it's nice to get the legs back out for this time of the year. And these boots, I have to touch upon. These are Mango. They're brand new stock. Absolutely love the slouch look in them. Really nice
And are they
suede.
kind of soft boots? You just pull them on, or is
Yeah,
there a
you
zip
just
in them?
literally pull them on. They weren't the easiest. Now, a while ago, we were trying to get them in because they only came into the shop yesterday.
right.
So we had to ease them out. But I love the slouch effect. Really nice. And again, it's just something different. But $59.99.
And even
Mango, which is an
throw a pair of
incredible
jeans with that
price.
look as well, and you know, if you weren't comfortable with the legs being out.
Yeah, and some
You're
people are conscious of their legs, you know, and they want the high boot look, but don't want them really tight on the calf. This is your solution. A slouch boot is amazing, but all of these are brand new, only after arriving in the last few days in Blanchardstown Centre.
Brilliant.
Happy
Shirley,
shopping.
thank you so much.
Thank you so much. As always, now earlier we made breakfast muffins in the kitchen. Here's what we did.
Preheat the oven to 180 degrees, blend the butter and sugar together, add the egg and mix again. Next, add the buttermilk and dry ingredients and mix it one last time with the electric mixer. Fold in the cereal and dried fruit, fill each cup 3/4 full and top each muffin with a sprinkling of cinnamon and sugar. Bake for 20 minutes, et voila! You've got some gorgeous breakfast muffins.
Coming up on tomorrow's show, she's the first country singer to ever play at Electric Picnic, and she smashed it. Lisa McHugh will be joining us.
And they were the Queen's favourite pooch. We're going to have veterinary advice on how to look after your corgi.
And if you're thinking about jetting off this autumn, we'll answer all your travel queries.
All that plus news, sport and weather you're waking up to. We're back tomorrow from 9 now. Lot of checks in about our buddy Pat. The fishmonger.
He's a character.
He's a character. I could have talked to him all day. Audrey says, Pat is such a lovely fella. Not many people can say that they're pen pals with the Queen.
I know, Gas.
Send her a salmon.
But I love the fact that he said that the letters started Mr. O'Connell and then by the end it was Pat.
Yeah,
it
Pat
was
the
real,
fishmonger.
you know, he's a great character.
Pamela says, very entertaining watching Pat earlier. He looks like a lovely person. That's a very Irish way to say, you lovely person.
Gas man, so natural and charming, isn't he? That should be the Cork now. Cork now, just in case
And your
I
accent
realise.
was coming out in that chat so much.
Bye. See you tomorrow morning.